What's up, guys? Node Investor here. Want to bring an update on these markets, these sideways, choppy, which way is it gonna go markets. We're gonna talk Bitcoin. We're gonna look at a few altcoins that are just really powering higher. Link moving strongly, Ethereum holding up well, a few others. We'll talk Bitcoin turns 10, the 10-year anniversary of the Genesis block. And we'll look at the total cryptocurrency market cap, and then we'll deep dive a few other names that I'm watching right now for some setups, some charts that are looking pretty good in this sideways choppy range. If Bitcoin can break higher, which names am I looking at? Before we do that, a very quick housekeeping item, just a few things I want to make sure you guys are aware of. If you missed it yesterday, I posted a tweet yesterday with a link to a video kind of announcing a new video series that I'm going to be doing here on this channel. The Bitcoin trading challenge is going to be primarily trading alts back into BTC and back and forth. I'm going to track that with you guys. So every week at least, I'll update the channel with a video talking about my trades, reasons for the trades, those that worked, those that didn't, when I moved my stops, all that fun stuff. And really the purpose is going to be to just help give you guys an example, help educate a little bit around my thought process behind this, and just to kind of show you the realities of trading. So many people look at technical analysis and they think that's it, that's what it has to do with trading, but trading is so much more than just looking at the charts, more than just reading price action and all that stuff. There's risk management, there's psychology, and then there's strategy that puts that all together. So check that out if you missed it. Along those lines, I am releasing the new video course. Now this has been coming out in segments. Subscribers to the Node Insiders alerts system have already had access to some of these, but this is now on the site. If you want more information, nodeinvestor.com/training. There is a cryptocurrency trading course that is now released. It's almost fully released here. The one part that's not released yet is the trading strategies section, but if you want to learn more about the others, there's trading psychology, there's risk management, and I have an entire series on the technical indicators that I like to use and how I use them with my trading. And the trading strategies portion will be released by the end of the month, so check that out. And if you already are a subscriber to the Node Insiders alert system, these videos are already available as a bonus. Subscribers to this system get full access to this new course, as well as my old training video course that was released in 2017. So go check that out, nodeinvestor.com or nodeinsiders.com. Let's get to it. So looking at the charts here, BTC enters almost 10 days now of this sideways choppy action here, very trendless. After peaking on December 24th, we had that big pullback and prices have just kind of been in this very sideways range. Now a few days ago I was highlighting potential inverse head and shoulder forming here. Now while that's technically still there, you know, this range has just kind of gone sideways. Not really the pattern that I'm necessarily watching and trading, but the psychology is the same. I mean, if it breaks above this resistance here, you're going to have a similar effect with a break push higher. So really that's what I'm watching is, but I'm more now approaching this as what are these horizontal levels? What are these key price points, both to the upside and the downside? But you can see here it's just in a very sideways range. Look at the moving averages are just basically going flat now. If we pull up the RSI and the MACD, right smack in the middle of the range here, MACD pretty much flat. Look at the histogram, just waiting for the next big move. Zooming in, looking at that 4-hour view, we can see there's a couple of key price levels that I'm watching right now. On the upside, that $3,900 range, a close above that on the 4-hour chart, we could start to see some acceleration. Then there's going to be that 4K psychological number, and then above that, really this breakout point, which is going to be around that $4,100, almost $4,200 level. And so those are the next levels to be watching, but key resistance right now is basically above that 3,900. Prices as I record this are just below 3,800. They're at 3,787 here as I record this, and that's after a little bit of a shakedown we saw today. Prices were pulling back constructively after hitting that resistance yesterday. Was looking pretty good, and then we saw pretty good volume come in as prices broke lower, but they've just been sitting tight. So that first low here today around that 3760 level is the first level to be watching, but then below that, the key level I'm watching is really that 3660, 3670 level. A break below that, you can see this range broken to the downside, and the momentum will likely kick in as prices accelerate lower. If we see a break to the downside, there's a good chance we'll test this low range down here. So first support around that level is going to be 34.50, and then below that, of course, the 3100 range, which none of us really want to think about at this point. Let's see if Bitcoin prices can hold up here and move through to the upside. So those are the levels I'm watching right now. For now, I'm just playing it tight. I'm going to keep small positions on my alt trades, keep a tight leash on things, no real big wide stops, no really aggressive positions. I am making some trades, but I'm just being cautious here while Bitcoin remains in this range because it could break either way, and we're just waiting for that next move to happen. Looking at a few other names, though, there's a few names holding up. Before we do that, let's go take a quick look at this article. I will link to this here in the description on the video notes, but the Bitcoin 10-year anniversary of the Genesis block. The Genesis block is the very first block that was mined on the Bitcoin blockchain. And just thinking about that, right? Satoshi Nakamoto, when he did that, he encoded a hexadecimal code here in this, and it was, the times 3 January 2009, chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. And this just brings back so many memories of the financial crisis and Lehman Brothers and all of these banks that were sitting on all of this toxic debt and going under. And it was just very appropriate for him to include that message as Bitcoin became a reality and the first block was mined and it entered its life. And now we are 10 years later. Bitcoin is still going, the blockchain is still alive, and we have since seen an entire new universe, an entire new ecosystem of new coins, of a new exchanges, and just so much has changed over the last 10 years. And it's interesting that now here we are again, potentially on the brink of another recession, another market crisis, however you want to say it. I don't think it's going to be a 2008 type of scenario, but it could. And it's just interesting that we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary here of this Genesis block, as there's a little bit of turbulence in the broader economic system worldwide. So check that out. Pretty interesting to read. I'll link to that in the description. Looking at the coin market cap, very much just kind of red across the board. Not huge, but has a red bias to it, smaller percent to the downside. We are seeing Tron hold up better. There's a few other names holding up better. I'll go over those charts here in a minute. But looking at the total BTC dominance, the alts continue to gain ground versus Bitcoin, primarily led by Ethereum here in recent days. But some of these alts are gaining ground. And so if you're trading alts, that's what you want to see, is that BTC dominance drifting lower, because it shows that the alts are outperforming Bitcoin. And that's what I'm looking for right now. What are those names that are holding up well and outperforming as Bitcoin continues to trade in this choppy range? Ultimately, we want to see if Bitcoin can break to the upside, and I want to see some alts continue to show some strength relative to Bitcoin. So that's what I'm going to be paying attention to here. So looking at the charts here, let's go look at ETH first. Now, Ethereum has continued to be the leader here in the alts, and we've seen this since it put in a low here at the end of December. Just really strong move higher, had that pullback, secondary entry, and just has continued to push higher, looking very strong, a little extended, no doubt. And so just something to make note of, but the trend is very strong, high momentum. A pullback here would be nice to kind of settle things out, or just let this thing go sideways for a little bit, but it has cleared some major resistance, continues to push higher, and it's just going to stair-step its way higher on the way up here. But again, was extended. You saw a little bit of a bearish divergence on this latest leg higher, and just something to make note of. The momentum is slowing to the upside, so a pause here would be healthy. You're seeing it on the 4-hour chart. Kind of just sit tight, consolidate, but the trend is still very much up, and until that changes, you got to give it the benefit of the doubt. So Ethereum looking very strong here near term. Looking at Link. Link has been one of the strongest names here today, if not the strongest. Very nice move out of this symmetrical triangle I was watching yesterday. Price was really starting to consolidate here with a lower trend line rising here, this broader downtrend that I was watching, and it cleared that resistance and then just powered through on some very strong volume. You can see that here, well above average. The thing that's very interesting about this one and very bullish is if you look at the big picture chart, I mean, look at this weekly chart. It is one of the few names, if not the only name that I can think of right now, that is nearing its all-time high price on the exchanges, and very close to breaking out into new high ground. There are very few names, if any, that are in this same category, so something to make note of. Anything that's been around for more than a year, I would be very surprised to see it making new highs here in this market, and here is Link pushing through. So by far one of the strongest names out there right now, just continues to stair step its way higher and looking very strong today. Look at that volume that came in here today as it broke through. Link continues to power higher, but I'm going to be more interested in seeing if it can break through that all-time high and really start leading the pack on the way up. Tron, this is the daily chart of Tron. Definitely one I'm liking right now here. Again, it had a very strong move off of the lows here. If you can see to the peak, that was about an 80% move from the low. And over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, it's just kind of been consolidating, and it let these moving averages catch up. That's looking very healthy. This consolidation is strong. Volume has dried up as this consolidation has taken place. And then here today, starting to push through resistance here. So I'm watching this one for a breakout. I want to see this one close above that prior wick here around that 560. If you can close above that, you can see a pretty good leg higher. Zooming in on that 4-hour chart, this is really the view I was watching here, looking at a break of that down trend line. The volume came in as that happened, so that's good. That's what you want to see, but now it needs to show some follow through. A lot of this is just kind of moving slower, in my opinion, because of the pressure that is on Bitcoin right now. Some of the sideways choppy action. This red candle here corresponded with that little shakedown that we saw in Bitcoin earlier today. So if Bitcoin can push higher, I'm watching Tron here to see if it can outperform on the way up. Looking at Icon, Icon's looking pretty good here too. If we zoom out here a little bit and look at the big picture, let me pull that up here for you guys to see. And this one is right at the breakout point here of this little pattern. Testing this, you can see that inverse head and shoulder pattern on the BTC chart. So you got left shoulder, head, right shoulder there, and there's a lot of volume coming in here on this latest daily candle as it's testing this resistance. So I want to see that break out, but Icon is looking very good. One of the stronger names here today, holding up well. Going back to that 4-hour view, you can see it's pushed yesterday right into that resistance, has been consolidating here today, and is now trying to edge higher and move up out of range. So Icon's looking pretty good there. Looking at the daily chart for IOTA, another one, strong momentum mover. A little bit extended as well, but a very strong name, just powering higher off the lows. And just look at how strong and straight up that trend has been. Going to the 4-hour view though, it is just marching higher, still looking pretty good here. Watching this potential divergence show up here, but for now the trend is your friend and it's moving in the right direction here. So continues to be one of the leaders in this market, along with Ethereum and Link. And finally, Bitcoin Cash, and this is the equivalent to Bitcoin Cash ABC on Binance. And this one is still on my radar, watching this consolidation here play out. I took a small entry in this one yesterday, got shook out with this little wiggle that we had here earlier today in Bitcoin, but I'm still watching it. It's looking pretty good here. I was watching this downtrend, a little bit of a bull flag type of pullback here right to these moving averages. It's still holding the lows there, which is positive, but hasn't seen a lot of follow through yet. Still on the radar though. Big volume move off the lows, very low volume consolidation. Now I want to see some follow through, turn the corner. It looked like it was about to get going yesterday. Looking at that volume here on this 4-hour chart, we had a push higher, consolidated, looking pretty good. Then this morning started to move out of range before pulling right back in and undercutting the lows from yesterday's consolidation. So for now, just watching it, but it's still on my radar, one to keep an eye on. I still like the way this daily chart is setting up. It has some potential to move out of range and at least retest these prior highs, and then above that test out the next resistance level. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Just want to bring that update on these markets. I will be on the road tomorrow, so no weekly recap, but I will likely be doing a video over the weekend, so look out for that. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and until next time, take care, everyone.